Welcome back, everybody, to our weekly energy tips for Patreon supporters and heart warriors. My name is Jona Bryndis. I'm a professional energy therapist and energy healer. I'm going to be looking at the week of the 29th of December, starting today till 4th of January. The Happy New Year to all of you. I hope you had great holidays, no matter where you're at in the world. It's the time of coming together with family, busy distraction, lots of social engagements, lots of wedging out on the couch, overeating, eating too many Christmas cookies, and watching Netflix, I suppose. Guys, this is also the time of stillness. It is the time where everything gets reset. It's like the 0 point between the years, those 12 tides or Rauhnächte, as we call them in German, these days between Christmas and New Year's, to be more precise, between Christmas Eve and the 6th of January, the Epiphany. And even if you're not Christian in that sense, it is something that is anchored in our traditions way longer than that. It comes from the celebration of the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, where the sunlight gets reborn and where we enter the time of new sunlight. It's the time where the earth is asleep, and where the earth is asleep, that's when the spirit, that's when our consciousness awakes. And so traditionally it's the time where this veil of perception between our 3D-ness, the earthiness that we have, and the etheric realm, where that loosens up, where it becomes more permeable. And therefore, it is the time where we really want to go into stillness, where we really want to enjoy, this lower level of distraction and of doingness, and really focus and pay attention to our being. Now, there's also a bit of a sense of urgency here, and I've picked up on that using these metaphors such as the train leaving the station and don't be a sleeper and stuff like that. The future is here. And all of this is, of course, happening. And for us as energetically sensitives, as empaths, more real than anything. We can feel everything. And the theme for 2020 is already set. Maybe you had the opportunity to watch the forecast for 2020. I talk a lot about collective healing in there and how we need to awaken to our individuated soul self, how we need to reclaim our power back while simultaneously learning how to commune and communicate better with others and how to coexist and co-create together. So we have to walk this fine balance here between recognizing our own truth and our own soul power, so to speak, in the midst and with others, respecting their soul power, respecting their energetic integrity, respecting their free will at the same time. But traditionally, these last days of the year that we're going through right now are something where people get reminded on endings. They pick up on this notion that sort of everything dies off, and it does to a degree here on this energetic level, as we will learn, but only to be reborn, only to rebuild, to reconstruct. So it's a time that we use for clearing the past, clearing the ties to the past. And that too, unfortunately, and this is why there's so much depression and anxiety and also relapse, with substance abuse and so forth in this time. It's also the time where we really begin to feel this regret or fear of regretting something, fear of missing out, fear of not living up to our highest potential. And yes, sorry, I poke my finger into this, constantly talking about bringing ourself into the highest expression. And this is the only way, really, to get out of this subdued, powerless place. So if you are right now, if you are feeling a bit sort of, I don't want to say depressed, but if you're questioning your self-worth, if you're questioning your abilities, if you're questioning your choices, then use these last remaining times here in 2019 to let go, to connect with these things that came forward in this year, that we're trying to show you something, the lessons of the year, and ask what you need to move forward now, to go into a higher expression instead of judging what you haven't accomplished, what you didn't do, and so forth. Go into active communication with your soul self. Go in and ask yourself, what do I need? And if you want to go a step farther, then ask your soul, what do you need, soul? What does this part in me that I know is there, what does it need? Does it need more beingness? Does it need more space? Does it need more security in form of a home, in form of a place of belonging? Do I need other people? Do I need a better job that is more fulfilling for me? Do I need things that I have been neglecting because I was too busy or too distracted trying to be something or somebody that I am not? Who am I truly? And you understand that this question is, of course, something that triggers our ego, which is why it doesn't want to go there. So this distractive busyness and doingness is all just there to prevent us from actually going there. So my energy tip for you here for this last week in 2019, to seek stillness, to perhaps even consider spending New Year's Eve in stillness. Maybe you live in a large city and there's a lot of rah-rah going on, there's a lot of fireworks and so forth going on. Maybe you can go somewhere, rent a cabin or an Airbnb somewhere where you can do this in stillness, on purpose, and use this time to wrap up all these loose ends, be it with your family, be it with your relationship, be it with your tribe. In the Truth Talk today, I talked about collective ties and collective gaslighting, and maybe you just want to contemplate about that. And for those of you who want to go a step further even, you can connect with your spirit guides, you can connect with your guardian angel, you can connect with all these supporting energies around you internally, through meditation, through walking meditation, through, it doesn't have to be a specific energy process, and ask these energies what they need, and of course in our culture here, in this Western culture, we call this time the time of giving. So we do this maybe with other people. I have had some beautiful synchronicities happening here in these last days, people paying my bill and strangers, and stuff like that. So these things sometimes do manifest, but it is more so that we go into this active connection with these energies that support us, and that we ask questions. Because this time here, this whole entire week, guys, is about our ability and our trust, and also our desire to receive information, to receive. These downloads are still going on, okay? And paying attention is not so much paying attention to news or anything like this. Paying attention means pay attention to your inner signals, to your inner feelings and sensations. What is coming forward there for you? What are your unmet needs? What are these things that you can change right now? these winds of change, as I call them here in this forecast for 2020, and especially January. And by the way, there's a beautiful YouTube video or MP3 available for you guys. I'm going to put the link here into the transcript. How to realign your energy to, the pragmatism of being a spiritual person, a spiritual soul self in this 3D world. Okay, it's spiritualism, soul self, all these terms, they have nothing to do with you understanding any of this. You don't need to understand anything about this. It's a feeling thing, it's a subjective experience. And in order to have this subjective experience where you can actually feel your own soul self and commune with it, right, and communicate with it, all right, you need to really go there. You need to allow yourself to, be this person, straddling two worlds, the soul with the body, all right, and understand that, whenever you are distracted and you're doing this, when you are, sort of externalized in your perception and in your truth, that you are asleep again. So awakeness / awareness has to do with you becoming aware that there is a soul self in you, and that it is a part of you that is always there, that is always supportive, that is always loving. And this can help with anxiety and help with depression, because this part in you can be activated at any time. You just really got to ask it. You really got to just commune with it. All right. And so the pragmatism is just about this. Every time you have contact with this part in you, you can feel that there is more. And then you no longer need to seek. Okay, the seeking comes because we pay too much attention to the external stuff. We get lost in the doingness. We get lost in our 3D-ness, in our solid materialistic experience. All right, but you guys already know this, that there is so much more. So ask your own soul, to come forward, to communicate with you. Your true self is the mediator between the two. So the true self is the one that communicates with your ego, okay? But even, when you don't really get the differences between those hierarchies, it doesn't matter. Just understand that it will always be there for you if you align to it, if you tune into it, okay? So letting go of the past for most of us really is just letting go of how we live our daily life without awareness, in an asleep state. And when you look back and you realize how asleep you were, and how some of your realities are actually just ego illusions, it's very important that you understand that there's an innocence in that, and that you couldn't see this before because you were asleep. There's no need to judge yourself for this. All right? So you don't judge yourself when you wake up, for sleeping. It is a part of our being. So we do need to sleep from time to time. We do need to care about our 3D being, okay? And there is a portion of doingness needed here in this practical 3D world. But when this balance gets lopsided, that's when we lose this deep inner connection, and with it then also our connection to the divine. And that is then what we experience as this separation pain, as this inner darkness. All right, so have the intent and the needed attentiveness, all right, to stay awake at all times. Purpose and meaning, they come through this to you. They come through recognizing this sacred heart space in you, this sacredness in you, all right? And the heart path, the one that we've chosen to live our life and to manifest and to co-create our life with means that we are constantly connected with our sacred heart, constantly recognizing that life in itself is sacred. Our life, other people's life, the life of the planet here, the life of the cosmos, all sentient life, if you will, is sacred. And next year will be so much about this, really recognizing how we need to respect the free will of other soul selves in our relationships, in our collectives, and so forth. All right. For now, this week here is all about you receiving the information, receiving instructions, and directions for this incoming new year, for this more awake soul self that you are getting pulled in. So it's an initiation into cosmic truth. That's why these nights or these days, these last days of the year, are so sacred to everyone who understands this. All right, because there's a lot of illumination there on this etheric level that can show to us how precious and how divine, our universe really is, and us in it. So the thing that comes in here collectively for this next week is sort of a divine order. It needs to be reinstated. The balance needs to be reinstated. And this requires us to do this communion and communication with other people. We have to learn how to speak truth and how to live truth. And this we will see this in politics and so forth here in this next week, how this plays out. All right. The biggest block to be expected, be it collectively or individually, is really our laziness of mentalism, our fixation on our thinkingness. Guys, I've mentioned this so many times. The thoughts that are going on in your brain, okay, in your physical 3D brain, for the most part, aren't even yours. It's all just projections from this collective thought field, all right? And the block that I mentioned, the laziness, is to not think for yourself. All right. If you are really serious about truth training, right, you need to understand that there's something like a spirit of truth. All right. And this can only be felt when you are awake. Then you can feel if something is truth or not. You might not be able to explain it. It doesn't matter. But the only way for you to get out of your own ego illusion is if you do this conscious step and work with your mind and stop just getting stuck in your 2% mindset that dominates 98% of your life. All right? Truth makes you free. And free thinking, okay, and spiritual freedom is a big part of that. So this is what I'm suggesting you here to focus on for this next week. The way this is going to translate: energy centers affected first and second, big time karmic resolution, guys, and seeing truth and looking through the veil of ego illusion and getting a glimpse of all of this. All right, so really connecting with some of these ties that you still have in your life, be it soul contracts or collective ties or individual ties to persons, to become fully aware of this. When you can really feel the practical need to do something about this is then when the even higher vibratory information, the seventh chakra, when that can translate this into a feasible strategy for you. All right, but without seeing the truth of it, it's very difficult to find higher vibratory solutions for these 3D problems. Okay, so you need to become one with this higher consciousness first, and then it'll be easy for you to understand this. So this is what these downloads are, the instructions and directions. So for all of you here who are at a crossroads in your life, really take this seriously. This can help you to come up with a whole new view and perception of your life, and also give you the courage that is needed to get out of the place that you are in. All right. Now, collectively, I've mentioned this on other occasions, there's a lot of unpredictability right now, a lot of enragement. So this balance that we all have to walk or find within us also, of course, needs to be found collectively, and collectively that's very difficult right now, as we have this sort of shift change here between the patriarchy and the new paradigm of power, which is sort of the unified masculine and feminine. There's still a lot of hanging on to this, so this will continue. But in this week, it'll become very obvious to you, how some of the, like, be it the banking system, be it the health insurance, the pharmaceutical industry, the food industry, the global politics, how they are engaging in their ego wars. Okay, that they don't even realize how outdated they are. But we are still in it, so we need to pay attention to these things. But due to our alignment, due to our attentiveness, we will get the right input, the right, sometimes also intervention, but the right information to do the right thing, to say the right thing, to be at the right place at the right time. All right. Physically, next week might be a little weird for you. You might feel very ungrounded. Again, this is the first chakra, sort of seeking, okay, the seeking for roots, for belonging. But in the physical, this often translates as issues with your circulatory system. You might have, high blood pressure, low blood pressure, things like that will kind of inhibit you a little bit, or that make you dizzy, or not fully grounded. What can help with this is first and foremost, obviously, to move your body a little more, but also things such as drinking more water helps, and hot and cold showers, and especially stretching. Stretching is something here in the 10-day challenge we realized how important this is. Is not just something that is cool to be more flexible. No, it releases all this old stored pain in your joints, okay, in your hips and in your shoulders, in your neck, all the anger, all the fear and all the judgment, all right, that literally, shows in these imbalanced skeletal and joint related structural aspects of your body. Okay, so stretching helps to release all this. And then last but not least, the stillness and the dedication to sacredness. For some of you heart warriors, I've already recommended this. If you don't have this already, maybe use the time to build a little altar or something in your bedroom, or if you have a big house, maybe you can dedicate a whole entire room to this, like your sacred space, where you go for prayer, where you go for realignments, where you go for meditation, or where you simply just go or walk by it to remind yourself of your own soul self, to remind yourself to stay awake. I often recommend to use things that you can carry around with you, like a crystal. For me, it is this crystal here. Many of you know this. I've been carrying this around with me for almost 13 years now. And eventually, because I kept losing it, it kept coming back to me. I had somebody drill a hole in it so I don't have to, so it can't fall out of my pockets. But something that, like in other cultures, they use worry stones or charms or whatever. It's not magic. It's just something tactile, especially for those of you who have more tactile in their perception, to remind you of your soul self, to remind you of your sacredness. All right? Emotionally, well, the pain body is very active right now through all this picking up on endings and so forth. And there's also a lot of fear and anxiety that can come with this, guys. So don't let your energy get pulled into this downward spiral. Now it's very important, okay, especially in regards to self-worth and values. Okay, it's very important that you don't get pulled into regrets and this sort of cognitive, emotional dissonance, all right? Instead, really focus on, what self-love actually means to you. And these questions, these coaching questions that I asked you in the beginning, they can help you to tune into this. What do I truly need? And also caring for, what supports you, what do you need? What do my spirit guides need? What do my guardian angels need? What does my altar need? Okay, those are things that tune you into higher emotional frequencies and to higher vibes. And I called them emotional, spiritual emotions. Okay, work with your spiritual emotions. They can help you to pull yourself out of those 3D low vibratory emotional states. Okay, mentally, we've just gotten through this heavy layer of mental schisms. Okay, the main thing here is now to stay awake. Okay, so remember, if you are not aware that you're awake, you're asleep. That's pretty much it. Okay, how do I know that I'm awake? Well, when you are aware that you're awake. Okay, so when you're not aware that you're awake, you are in your ego. So this is basically the connection. So when you sleep, you get pulled into your 3Dness, and with that into your ego perceptions, and they then produce all this mental overlay and all the emotions and physical sensations that go with this. All right, so make sure that you understand that it's only the awake state in which you can actually make changes and find solutions. Okay, those higher vibratory solutions that you're seeking for. So don't even waste your energy on trying to find solutions when you're low. All right, focus all your energy on waking up. And this is what this altar, or the crystal, or whatever, the symbol for sacredness can help you with. Because when you're in these low states, be it through your emotions or your mental overlay, it's so hard to remember your soul self. All right, so just keep a token of that, keep a symbol of that with you at all times. That's my tip for you. Socially, in relationships, guys, it's gonna get a little better now. Okay, so not as tricky as the last week, but a lot of this has to do with your willingness to make amends, with your willingness to reconcile, and also with your willingness to open up your communication, with your willingness to receive information from others. So asking, what do I truly need, is a very, very good question to remind yourself of your own sacredness and self-love. But what about your partner, your children, the people around you? Ask them questions and learn how to ask the right questions, guys. So many times when we communicate with another, we're either, our questions are either biased, or they're just yes or no questions. And we literally kill off any kind of higher vibratory communication right there. Okay. Are you feeling better now? What kind of question is that? Ask, hey, how are you truly feeling? It's an open question. And then listen. Okay. Don't send statements with a question mark. That kills every exchange of information. All right. So this willingness to receive information, and this is here is very significant on the spiritual level, has to do with us really, listening to what truth wants to communicate with us without a bias, without any kind of opinion about it. There's no need to judge anything, because who am I, to judge what the divine, wants to put out. All right, it's it's something, where the ego like immediately takes ownership and either wants to take credits for it, in form of like, oh, I had this great idea, this is my idea, or externalizes it as in, oh, this is a wrong thought, this is something bad. Okay, this is how we get in trouble, guys. All right, spiritually, it's very important to stay open. Truth sets us free. Why is that? Because truth leads the way to spiritual freedom, and spiritual freedom leads the way to joy, happiness, healing, and abundance. Because those are higher vibratory states, and we can only find them in our life, pertaining seeking purpose and meaning, through really tuning into this frequency. Okay, so energetically you get the gist, right? It's all about karmic reconciliation, etheric reconciliation in some of your guys' cases, where there's active ties to people, vows and contracts. And paying more attention to the unseen interaction, the unseen communication. All right, this is very, very important, because there's a lot of info that is being transported between two people or groups of people in the unseen. And also, coming from you. This is where being aware of your own projections, and then as a result of that, what you absorb from others, is the part of the truth training, has to be part of our truth training. What do I communicate? What do I send out here etherically on this unseen level to other people? Do I still transport superiority? Do I still, even though maybe I point out the victimhood and the suffering of my life, this is a form of specialness. This is a form of superiority. All right, to go into the deeper levels of truth with these things. What am I putting out here energetically? Where does my energy go? So I'll tell you guys something I've only shared with one person. I went to buy Christmas gifts and had some last minute things to do, so it was very stressful. And the guy at the register was like an 18-year-old guy. He asked me if I qualify for senior citizen discounts. I about fell over, guys. I mean, everything in me, my ego, my pride, my everything. I was just like shocked, and my energy went into full-blown attack. Okay, this poor guy. Okay, within a split second, I annihilated him etherically. This poor guy forgot to take the tags off, the security tags. I mean, everything fell apart here. It was big drama that came out of this. Not a single word exchanged, all just energetically. So yes, I am guilty of that too. When some of these pride or these specialness things are addressed in you, okay, watch your etheric become a bitch or a tyrant. All right, so this is the inspiration here for this next week, to really learn to operate on this soul level more, and become less afraid of it, to familiarize yourself with it, and to actually remind yourself on a daily level through, remembering the sacredness of life, the sacredness of your soul's sovereignty, your soul integrity, your energetic integrity, and with it also the integrity of other people. All right. I hope you learned something. Please let me know how you guys are doing in the commentary. It's a bit single-sided here lately. All right, I hope to be of service for you. I want to thank you all for your support on Patreon, and all the heart warriors for their dedication. I have a few new programs that are coming out now in January. Very, very interesting healer mentoring, and soul self journey, actually specifically called truth training and so forth. Go to the website. The website is changing as well. A lot of new things are coming in here in this next week at transCODES. So there too, pay attention. Oh, and last but not least, in case you haven't noticed it, those of you who are considering to come to Iceland during the summer solstice, there are end of the year special discounts. So if you're considering it, you can save a few $100s now by buying your ticket for the Iceland workshop, the 4-day workshop during the summer solstice next year. All right. Love you guys. Wishing you a wonderful transition into this new year, and see you next week. Bye-bye.